What is going on, guys? Love Smash, back with an all new video for you guys today. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing something where a lot of you guys are probably thinking, why the hell are you discussing and speculating about this early? Smash 4 DLC isn't even finished yet. It ain't going to be finished for months. Why are you wasting your time, shaking my damn head? Why are you talking about this? Whatever you guys are thinking. Well, I figured, number one, it's never too early to start speculating. Number two, I've been eager to talk about this for months now, and I really wanted to share my ideas and thoughts, and I really didn't think I could wait a few years to do this. And number three, it all goes back to the top 10 fan-requested character video I did for Smash 4. You know, the video where you guys voted on the straw poll I made to pick which characters you wanted as DLC? In that video, I briefly mentioned how I thought in the future, when Nintendo drops their newest console, which they're currently calling the NX, there would be a new Smash Bros. Game to follow and be released at some point. And I got a lot of responses from people telling me that there wouldn't be a new Smash Bros. Game because Sakurai said Smash 4 would be the last one, or whatever the case may be, and people gave their reasons. So one point for doing this video was to not only discuss my reasons why I'm very confident there will be a new Smash Bros. Game in the future, but I also wanted to give you guys my top 5 picks of characters who I legitimately believe will be on that roster when the game comes out. At least right now, I think these characters will be in our current year of 2015. But remember, a lot of things can change over time, and there is no set timetable of when this game could possibly come out. So in this video, be prepared for a lot of bold predictions, and who knows, a couple years from now, whether it's 2016, 18, 20, you guys might be watching this video back and be like, wow, this guy was on the money, or wow, this guy's stupid, he got everything wrong. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But first, let's start off with the reason why a lot of people seem to think there won't be a new Smash game in the future. And it all goes back to Sakurai's interview with Game Informer, where he stated, quote, "I can't positively declare there won't be another Smash Bros. Game. With both Melee and Brawl, I made those games with the thought that there wouldn't be any more sequels, thus I can't really deny the chance for another. However, as for myself, I don't think there will be. In terms of scope and in terms of sheer number of characters, we went beyond our limits long ago. And yet, if we were to cut the number of fighters or modes in a future game, I'm sure there will be complaints." So first up, let's focus on the bottom part of that discussion, where Sakurai talked about characters and game modes. If there were to be cuts, it would no doubt upset a lot of people, especially with the roster cuts. So if there was to be another Smash game, they're really going to have to ask themselves, what should we do here? Should we just keep adding characters to the roster and have a roster of upwards to 60 or 70 characters after a few cuts are made? Or are they going to make drastic cuts to the roster and then upset a lot of fans? So that's going to be very interesting to see if there is in fact a new Smash game, how they would handle the roster size. But they would most likely figure it out. But the first part where Sakurai stated they went with the intention with Melee and Brawl that there wouldn't be any more games. As you guys know, Sakurai did state that with Brawl. In fact, when Brawl was announced, Sakurai didn't even have an idea if he'd be involved. Nintendo just announced it. And he says, "I really can't deny the chance of another one," which is true, because it's not Sakurai's decision, it's Nintendo's decision. If Nintendo wants to do another Smash game, then most likely it's going to happen whether Sakurai is involved or not. Most likely Nintendo will ask him to come back, but it's his choice if he wants to return. But we'll talk about that a little later in the video. Next up, let's talk about the second part of that interview, where Sakurai stated, quote, "You could say that all the effort in the past to stretch out, keep pushing myself, and provide all the extra merits wound up tightening the noose around my neck in the future. That may seem like it contradicts my personal desire to keep giving gamers as much as I can, but I don't see any easy answer for it. And yet, despite that, I also have trouble picturing someone else taking my place and providing all this value-added content without me." Now, this isn't the first time Sakurai expressed development problems when a fan wrote to him, "Hello, Mr. Sakurai, it sounds like development of Smash Bros. Was really hard. And I never seen you so worn out, it made me appreciate the new Smash Bros. Game more than ever." And Sakurai responded, "It was very tough this time around. I doubt I'll be able to go on making games like this if it continues like this, but I consider myself lucky that so many people seem to enjoy Smash Bros." And then finally, somebody described Sakurai in an interview by stating Sakurai's outlook on the games is very dire. He gets really sad when he finds out how people are reacting, and he gets sad whenever there's a leak, because he really wants to create. And he's an amateur in the most crazy sense. He's basically Vincent van Gogh cutting off his own ear, and we're sitting there going, "Freak, stop doing that." And he's like, "You don't get it, guys, my vision." And all this can really make you feel bad for him in a way, because I'll never forget when the roster got leaked all those months ago, and people were commenting saying, "This roster sucks, I don't want these characters." Imagine putting all that work into a game, the stuff getting leaked on the internet, and then people criticizing your work. And I just remember reading those comments and I was like, how could people hate on this roster? This is the best one we've ever had, but I guess you just can't please everybody. Not to mention, Sakurai works all the time. Holidays, weekends, he barely gets any time off. He has his injury, he had tendonitis in one of his arms, and I think it actually spread to both arms. Not to mention, a lot of pressure from the fans to do a good job, to put the right characters in. So I can understand why Sakurai is saying all these things. And I remember when that first article came out, and I covered it in a video, and I compared the whole situation to someone who goes out and they get really drunk, and they wake up the next morning and they're puking and they're hungover and they're just like, oh, I'm never drinking again. But then a week later, they're right back to drinking. So it could just be a situation similar to that, where right now in 2015, he's saying this, that he doesn't think there'll be a new game, that he doesn't think he'll return, that he can't take the pressure or whatever. But how does he know he won't feel differently in 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, or whenever they decide if they want to do another game? Maybe he'll feel differently and want to return, or maybe he'll feel the same way. So the decision is entirely up to him, but until then, let him finish DLC for Smash 4, then take a very long and well-deserved vacation, then in the next few years when they do announce a new Smash game, or if they do, then let him decide whether or not he wants to come back. So now I want to say a few things. Now Sakurai has always said some stuff, and whether he's telling the truth and he changed his mind or he was trolling, he said things like Brawl was going to be the last game, but of course he got Smash 4. He said that Villager and the Miis weren't suited for battle when Brawl came around, but then they were added in Smash 4. He said there were no current plans for DLC. He went on that whole spiel about he didn't feel right charging people for extra DLC and things that should have been on the game, but we ended up getting DLC, even though that probably was more Nintendo's decision rather than his. But the main point being, he changes his mind a lot. Now let's look at this from Nintendo's standpoint. Smash Bros. Being one of their biggest franchises, but also being one of gaming's biggest franchises. Sales of the Wii U went way up when Smash for Wii U was released, and the game itself went to sell over 3 million copies. Then let's look at the 3DS. There was a special edition Smash Bros. 3DS console, and the game itself sold over 9 million copies. Then the Smash series as a whole has grossed 32 million in sales. Then just take a look at the sales of the amiibos. 14.7 million total units have been sold, with more on the way. Then the inclusion of DLC has added more characters, stages, and Mii costumes, which is generating sales. Not to mention the tournaments that are being held. There's EVO, there was last year's Smash Bros. Invitational, and remember Smash Fest from last year, where people were waiting online at their local Best Buys for hours just to play 5 minutes of the game if they were lucky. The Smash series in general is just a series that builds so much hype. For a lot of you guys out there, it might be the reason you went out and bought a Wii U or a 3DS, or it's the reason you tune in to the Nintendo Directs because you want to see if a character is going to get revealed or some kind of Smash announcement will be made. So for people out there saying that there won't be another Smash game in the future because Sakurai isn't returning is really not a good enough reason. Because number one, Sakurai did not officially come out and say whether or not he was or was not returning. We're just going to have to wait and see what the future holds. That'd be like saying if Shigeru Miyamoto retired, there'd be no more Mario or Zelda games, which is crazy. Those are big franchises. And Nintendo is not going to give up one of their biggest franchises that makes them a lot of money and that the fans are going to want by the time the NX comes out just because Sakurai may or may not return. Now, that's still up in the air. If Sakurai does return, great, fantastic, we get Dottie Sakurai back. However, if he did not return, then Nintendo would have to look elsewhere for somebody to head the project, so hopefully Sakurai does return. If not, maybe some new blood would be good for the series, but let's not jump to conclusions just yet. Let's just wait and see what the future holds. And with the NX, I heard that it's going to be shown off next year in 2016, so maybe we could expect it 2017 or 18 or so. So I'm sure at some point during that time, development will begin on a new Smash game, and we could see that game maybe come out 3 years after the NX. But that's just a prediction. Like I said, these are just my reasons why I think we will see a new game in the future, and be sure to let me know in the comments whether or not you think there will in fact be a new Smash game on Nintendo's next-gen console. But with all that out of the way, now I wanted to give you guys my top 5 picks of characters who I think stand a very good shot to be in the next game. Now, like I stated earlier, it's very difficult to try to speculate because this game is a number of years away and a lot of things can change, whether new IPs and franchises emerge from Nintendo, or new games come out for older franchises and other characters become relevant or more popular. And for this list, I try to put myself in a Sakurai state of mind here, thinking about how him and the team would make picks for the next game based on what they did in older Smash Bros. Games. So without further ado, let's dive right in with my first pick, Cross from the Xenoblade series. Now, no doubt, Xenoblade has become a very big franchise for Nintendo, and the newest game, Xenoblade X, is already selling great in Japan. It actually outsold the original Xenoblade for Wii, and it instantly became a hit, and it is coming to America in December. So with a big franchise like Xenoblade, it would not be surprising if they wanted to add another rep. Not to mention, Cross would also be very similar to Robin, Wii Fit Trainer, and Villager, where you could swap between a male and a female, which would make him very unique as well. And I'm sure there's a lot the team can do with that gun weapon that he uses in the game. They can easily make a moveset that translates very well into Smash. Now, when I was first thinking about a rep from Xenoblade, my first thought was Cross. Then I was like, maybe Elmo would be better. But then I went back to Cross. I was like, you know what? He's the character you play as from the beginning, the one you customize. And for a possible final Smash, maybe they could do something like this, where the giant robot will appear and you can attack players whether you're on or off the stage. I think that would be really, really awesome. So for all those reasons and more, I think Cross would be no doubt an excellent and very unique addition to the Smash 5 roster. Now moving on to pick number 2 with the Inklings from Splatoon. Now I know a lot of you guys are probably saying, but I want the Inklings in Smash 4, I voted for them in the Smash Bros. Fighter ballot, and I can guarantee if the Inklings somehow do make it in Smash 4, I will never hear the end of this in this video. People will comment away and tell me I was wrong. But I do feel when it comes to the Fighter ballot, people are voting for other characters that they've been voting for years, going back to Melee and Brawl, and I do think the Inklings would be so much better in Smash 5, because Nintendo is going to be looking for new IPs to represent. And yes, I know Splatoon has sold 1.6 million copies. It's the next big winner and new IP for Nintendo. I think it needs a little more time to grow, get a sequel out, which might come out over the next few years. We can get a second Splatoon. And we already have the Inkling Mii costumes in Smash 4 already. So if the Inklings were to be in, it'd be very confusing to try to keep up which ones are the costumes, which one are the actual Inklings. So I think it's much better off to wait for Smash 5, and they'll just be awesome additions. They would be no doubt unique. There's a lot you could do with all the ink-themed weapons, like the guns, the blasters, the paint roller, the sniper rifle, the paintbrush, and all that stuff, not to mention turning into the squids. And I'm very interested to see how they're going to make their movesets work, like turning into the squid and stuff, and also with their alternate costumes and skins. What I would do is, just like in Splatoon, you make an Inkling unique, you give them all a unique piece of headgear and eyeglasses or headphones or whatever, and you give them a designated color. Like in Splatoon, there are a number of colored ink you can shoot. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they could do, but I definitely think the Inklings are better suited for Smash 5, even though I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me and want them as DLC in Smash 4, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But definitely a very big and brand new IP that Nintendo should definitely represent in a Smash Bros. Game. Now moving on to pick number 3, with a pick a lot of you guys might be scratching your heads at, but I will explain, and that is Isabelle from Animal Crossing. Now I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, what in the world can they possibly even do for a moveset for her, and wasn't she an assist trophy in Smash 4? Well, that is true, she was an assist trophy, but just because you're an assist trophy doesn't mean you can't be playable, like with Little Mac. And as far as the moveset goes, the team is very creative when it comes to making movesets for characters. I mean, they made Fox, Captain Falcon, Villager, Wii Fit Trainer all playable, and gave all them movesets, so I don't think it'd be an issue. And the reason I think she stands a very good shot is because just the way she's been handled over the past few years. She made her debut in New Leaf and has since then been featured heavily in every other Animal Crossing game. In the upcoming Amiibo Festival game, the Happy Home Designer, she was a guest character in Mario Kart 8. Not to mention, she was actually the face of the Animal Crossing Twitter page for a while. She was actually just replaced, but I think she's coming back as well. And in a strange way, it kind of seems like she's becoming the new face of Animal Crossing, and Nintendo really does seem to love her, so it would not shock me if she was included as a playable character. In a way, she kind of reminds me of Rosalina, where she debuts in a game and then she's just heavily featured everywhere, so it would not shock me if she was included. Animal Crossing could always use another rep, and I must admit, I really do love Isabelle. I don't know why, but she's always cool in my book. And just throwing out a few ideas, if she was to be included for alternate costumes, they can go one based on her original design as her default, and then use her newer design as an alt, and some other ones as well as seen featured in the Animal Crossing games. Or one way they can go is very similar to what they did with Alpha and Olimar, and have her twin brother Digby as an alternate skin for her. That would be pretty cool as well, but just throwing out ideas here. Now on to pick number 4 with Azura, or Aqua if you prefer, from Fire Emblem Fates. Now you guys might be saying, ugh, another Fire Emblem rep, we have so many as it is. But that's the point. Seeing a new rep in Smash games has been a trend ever since Melee. We first got Marth and Roy, then we got Marth and Ike in Brawl, then we got Marth, Ike, Roy, Lucina, and Robin in Smash 4, so to see another rep in a Smash game would not be shocking at all. Now, which characters could be considered? Well, you can go with the avatars, but yet again, they still are just sword fighters, or you could choose a character like Xander or Ryoma, but if there's going to be a samurai character in this game, it better be Takamaru and not Ryoma, so in the end, I decided to go with Aqua, or Azura if you prefer, because not only is she unique in the aspect where she can use many water attacks, but she also uses a lance as her primary weapon, so she just wouldn't be a sword wielder like the other reps we have in Smash, so that would make her unique. Also, she is a female, which is always good to have another rep on the roster. And I was thinking something along the lines of her final Smash could be this, where she dances and twirls around and hits opponents with water and knocks them back. Now, what I'm about to say to you guys is a spoiler from Fire Emblem Fates, so if you guys do not want it ruined for you, please skip ahead to the designated time on the screen. But what I'm about to say is, with Aqua, what happens to her that a lot of people may say she can't be in Smash is that she dies in 2 out of the 3 routes in Fire Emblem Fates, but one she does live. So I don't want people commenting saying that, well, she can't be in because she's dead, how would that work? But she does live on one, so I think her chances are still possible and that may not affect her, and I still think she'd make an awesome addition to the roster and be overall a unique character. Now moving on to my 5th and final pick is a new Pokemon rep, whether it comes from Gen 7 or Gen 8. Now, you guys are probably saying, how did you possibly put a character on your list that hasn't even been created yet? And the reason is because with every new Smash Bros. Game, there's a new Pokemon added to represent the current generation. For example, we had Pichu and Melee to represent for Gen 2, we had Lucario and Brawl to represent for Gen 4, and we had Greninja to represent Gen 6 in Smash 4. So it wouldn't be unlikely or unheard of to see a new Pokemon rep in the newest Smash game, and whether it's going to come from Gen 7 or Gen 8 is going to depend when those games come out and when Smash 5 comes out, when the timelines line up. Now you're probably saying, you're making some bold predictions here, you're saying there's going to be a 7th Gen and a Gen 8 Pokemon game. Well, I do not know that for sure, but Pokemon is a huge franchise for Nintendo. It's their second biggest one behind Mario, and it's been going for all these years, so I highly doubt they would stop now, and I think a Gen 7 game is likely over the next few years, a Gen 8 possibly as well, and a lot of fans are speculating that Gen 7 may be on the way because of the new movie that's come out. This Pokemon here, a lot of fans have been speculating, is from Gen 7, although other fans are speculating this Pokemon is somehow related to the Pokemon Zygarde and is somehow connected to Gen 6 in a way. Whichever is true, we still don't know since that movie is not out yet. But Pokemon is a giant franchise, and I highly doubt they would stop now, going strong all these years. Now, whether the Pokemon is going to come from Gen 7 or Gen 8 in Smash, Gen 8 might be more likely considering it's gone 2, 4, 6 so far, but it could be from 7. Like I said, it's going to depend where Smash 5 and whether 7 or 8 line up on the timeline. And I am making bold predictions here. And for the Pokemon rep, I am hoping it is a grass type since we had Charizard, we have Greninja, so a grass type would fit pretty good in there. But like I said, I'm making some bold predictions here, but that's the thing of speculating for the future. You really don't know what's going to happen, so you got to make your predictions. But those are my top 5 picks. Yet again, let's do a recap. Cross from Xenoblade, Inklings from Splatoon, Isabelle from Animal Crossing, Aqua or Azura, whichever you prefer to call her, from Fire Emblem, and finally either a 7th or most likely 8th generation Pokemon rep. And you guys might be saying, why not include a third-party character on your list? That's been an ongoing trend as well. I was thinking about it, but then I was like, this video is so bold as it is, I'm only going to discuss Nintendo-owned and just give my reasoning and thoughts why I think we'll get a game in the future and do my top 5 picks, Nintendo-owned only. And like I said, these are just my predictions, what I think is going to happen in the future. You guys could think completely different, have different ideas for characters, whether or not we're going to get a new Smash game in the future. But let me know that stuff in the comments. Be sure to tell me what you think. Do you like my ideas? Do you not? What you guys think will happen in the near future? When you think the game will come out? Anything you guys want to mention, please feel free to. But anyway, that is the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And like always, if you want the latest fighting game news and speculation, be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon with a brand new video.